guys, it's Shelby, otherwise known as Shelbizleee here on YouTube, and today I am batch filming videos, which means this is my second video I filmed today, and I still have another one to film because I'm going out of town later in the month of August, so I'm trying to get things ready. I don't ever want to just skip videos or uploads just because I'm traveling. I feel like that's not fair to you guys. So not only am I doing all of that today, but today is also the first day of my period, which you'd know if you follow me over on Instagram. Speaking of Instagram, I'm going to be talking today about some things that you guys wanted me to look up and determine if I think it's greenwashing or not. So we're going to be anti-hauling some things that I looked through all of your questions and deemed to be greenwashing. So all of the things that we're going to talk about today are going to be things that I personally think are greenwash products. On the contrary, I have a blog post with some of the other things that you asked about, and I'm going to link it in the description to things that I don't think are greenwashed, to companies that I think are doing good things for the environment. So if you want to skip ahead to things that are good for the environment, you can check out that blog post in the description. And one more segue. Speaking of blog posts, this video is sponsored by Squarespace, so don't forget that if you're ready to launch a blog, online store, or a general website with a ton of information, there are a lot of websites out there that are just really helpful with learning things, like the EWG website that we're going to talk about today. But regardless, if you want to start a website of your own, you can do so with Squarespace and get 10% off at squarespace.com/Shelbizleee. But we'll talk more about them at the end. Let's go ahead and get into the products that you asked about that I think are greenwashed. So first things first, the product that most of you asked about, or I guess that got asked about the most, is a little company out there that is literally everywhere already, and they are known as Love Beauty and Planet. Now I'm going to reference you to a video that's already popping in my head, literally just about this brand and why it's not an eco-friendly brand. Kristen Leo uploaded a video where she talked about how Love Beauty and Planet wanted to sponsor her and why she turned down that sponsorship. So I'm going to link that video up here and in the description. Go check it out because honestly, I'm just going to be regurgitating a lot of what she said in there and other things that I know. In that video, she makes a statement about how she feels like the name of the brand is just so we don't know how to brand things that are eco-friendly or vegan, so let's just put it with all the labels that millennials love. Love, Beauty, and Planet. But aside from the name, the reason that you're already seeing this company literally everywhere in some of the biggest name retailers before it ever was launched as a small brand name, right? Because it's typically the trajectory of most products. They started as a small brand. People decide that they're a really good brand. The products are good. And then they make it up to maybe a space in Target or maybe at Walmart. But traditionally, you don't see a brand launch and immediately it's in Target and Walmart, some of the biggest retailers in the US. But that does happen when one of the biggest companies in the whole entire world launches said product, which is what's happening here. Love Beauty and Planet is owned by a company known as Unilever. Now, you may have never heard of this specific company, but I guarantee you know all of the brands that they own because they own nearly every brand on supermarket shelves, along with a couple other conglomerates like P&G, Procter & Gamble, Pepsi, and Unilever. They are among the top contributors of plastic pollution around the world. Obviously, we all know about the issues with plastic in our oceans and polluting our entire earth, and the fact that Unilever is one of the leading causes of that. And then they launch a product called Love Beauty and Planet, which bottles, by the way, are partially made from recycled ocean plastic. That's just not good enough for me, to be honest with you. Most shampoos are vegan unless you're buying the odd goat's milk shampoo. The only difference for me really in this product is that they're marketing it as vegan, whereas those other products don't market as vegan. So they stick that vegan label on there and hope that you'll buy it because of that and put a cute little name on it and make the branding a little more millennial friendly so that you'll buy into the greenwashing that is Love Beauty and Planet. And really beyond that, the biggest problem with all of the brands we're going to talk about today is transparency. If your website doesn't tell me where you manufacture, the ingredients that go into your product, how I can dispose of the product, how you earn money from the product, and where the profits of that go, if your website is shady and I can't learn all of the basic questions I need to know to determine if you're greenwashing or not, you're pretty much gonna get the stamp of greenwashing from me, because if you weren't, that information would be public, whether or not you're a private company. So like I said, this is an anti-haul combined with greenwashing, so everything in this video is anti-hauled, and yes, Love, Beauty, and Planet is anti-hauled on my end. If you want to find some eco-friendly shampoos, some zero-waste shampoos, have a whole blog post about that, I'll link it in the description, just so you have a point of reference on things that are better than Love, Beauty, and Planet. To follow that up, let's talk about another company that is owned by Unilever, which is a brand name that you probably didn't know. Unilever, let me know in the comments, have you ever heard of them before? I only learned about them whenever Loop launched, because they are a huge contributor to Loop, which is another problematic situation in and of itself that I can't decide how I feel about. But regardless, let me know if you knew who Unilever was before this video. But a brand you might know and you might think is eco-friendly is a brand called Seventh Generation. Now guess who owns Seventh Generation? The same company who owns one of the top contributors to plastic pollution, Unilever. So basically all the things I just said about Love, Beauty, and Planet apply the exact same way to Seventh Generation. Yes, their products are a little bit more eco-friendly, and I'm going to say this, if it's all you have access to, I would say go for it. But in today's day and age where you have access to anything on the internet, I don't think I would be supporting a company like Seventh Generation. I will say in the past, I did buy Seventh Generation's toilet paper because it was the only recycled one on our shelves, but now I buy Who Gives a Crap toilet paper, which is a brand you can buy online, which makes it accessible to almost anyone. So I don't see the reason why you would purchase something from one of the largest plastic pollution contributors in the world when you can purchase from a smaller brand that really believes in a true method of reducing waste, fair wages, and sustainable practices. Other things Seventh Generation makes include all sorts of household cleaners for each little portion of your home. That's a problem in and of itself. I don't believe you need a different cleaner for every portion of your home. And if there's a brand marketing to you as if you do need a different cleaner for every single section of your home, they might be greenwashing. All in all, Unilever has a past of being exposed for using child labor, paying unfair wages, releasing toxic chemicals into riverways, and obviously being a huge contributor to plastic pollution. So does Seventh Generation get the stamp of being anti-haul and being greenwashed? Yeah, it does. Now this is one that really frustrates me and makes me shake. Why am I shaking? I need to stop shaking. If you haven't heard of the H&M Conscious clothing line, get ready, because it's gonna make you fucking cringe. The Conscious clothing line is a clothing line that H&M produced to make themselves look better. Plain and simple. The fundamental aspect of H&M as a brand that makes them incredibly unsustainable, as a matter of fact, one of the most unsustainable brands on the planet, in my opinion, is the fact that they mass produce really cheap clothing at really unfair wages and then sell them to you so you can wear them a few times before they A, inevitably go out of style, or B, fall apart. I'm sorry, but this minuscule Conscious clothing line is not a substitute for all of the damage they've already done and continue to do alongside this Conscious clothing brand. My personal opinion is that supporting a Conscious clothing line by H&M is only telling them that, hey, if you do this little bit, I'm okay with that. This is enough. There's a very fine line, I think, between supporting brands who are making better steps and brands who are doing something just to make themselves look better. I honestly feel like the H&M Conscious clothing line came up from a business meeting where people were sitting there and going, so what's in style now? What's our new trend? What are we gonna focus on this month? And someone else in the boardroom said, well, millennials are really into sustainability and minimalism. And the other people said, well, we can't really make profit off of that. There's no such thing as profiting from minimalism and purchasing less, but maybe if we slap a sustainable logo on it, they'll buy into it. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people have. Now, this is a good step in the right direction, and I hope H&M continues to make more things like this. But honestly, their business model overall is really, really unsustainable, and they need to take a look at that instead of just making this little side clothing line to make themselves and consumers feel better. So the H&M Conscious clothing line definitely gets a stamp of greenwashing for me, and it's anti-hauled. I personally would not buy from it. Now, I've also heard that H&M has a recycled clothing program, which is good, I guess, but there are plenty of other recycling programs out there that I would recommend. One of them is ThredUp. You can send all your clothes to them. They will recycle them appropriately, and that way you're supporting a secondhand brand and letting them sell those clothes to recyclers, because that's what happens. You're giving those clothes to H&M for free, and then they're selling them to recyclers. I'd much rather give that money to ThredUp instead of H&M. So that's just my opinion on that. Another brand that a lot of people had a question about that I didn't know about, because we all know Shelby needs to stay out of Target as a previous shopaholic, but this is a new Target brand apparently called Everspring. Now, I use a website called EWG, the Environmental Working Group. A lot of people have told me this is run by a lobbyist group. Yes, but they use literal data, literal scientific journals they link you to with everything that they say to back it up. So take it with a grain of salt if you don't think that a natural product lobbying group is someone to take advice from, but definitely use it as a leaping off point to go to this brand called Everspring, go to the ingredients of it, and then read scientific journals as to why it is toxic to aquatic life, which is exactly what I found out about this brand, Everspring. There are a lot of labels that are very loosely regulated, but I can tell you that some of their products are labeled biodegradable, which is a term that is not regulated in the United States. There is no legal definition for biodegradable, therefore literally any company can slap that term on their bottle, and there's no one telling them that it's right or wrong. There are no standards to meet to qualify it as biodegradable. And specifically with this Everspring line, what's really frustrating is a lot of the ingredients that they have in this soap are toxic to aquatic life. So do I think that it is going to be degrading in the biosphere, in a natural environment? Does it sound biodegradable if it's toxic to the things that live in the environment that would be biodegrading it? No. So Everspring is not getting a stamp of approval from me. I think this is another very clear example of greenwashing, where they make the bottles look minimalistic and put some leaves on them, slap a biodegradable label on it, and call it a day. I wouldn't trust this brand. That's my personal opinion. This one is funny, and I just had to use it for clickbait. It is the Jeffree Star metal straw. Okay, you guys, so Jeffree Star is a controversial public figure. I'm not going to comment on any of that. What I am going to comment on is the fact that he started a reusable straw not line. He has reusable straws in his sales right next to all of his plastic packaged products. I mean, is it a step in the right direction? Yes. Do I think this is necessarily greenwashing? I wouldn't buy them, just because why would I support Jeffree Star alongside all of his plastic packaged goods when you can go and support sustainable and ethical straw companies like companies on Earth Hero, Simply Straw, Final Straw, all of those kind of straws, and they're not sold to be a commodity, they're sold to be a reusable. So I guess you could call this greenwashing. I think Jeffree just jumped on it because in the Shane series, I think it was, he was using plastic straws when plastic straws were a big thing and everybody was after everybody who used a plastic straw. So he saw an opportunity to make money and he put them up on his shop. This is probably one of the less serious forms of greenwashing, but I would call it greenwashing. Something else I would personally call greenwashing are eco subscription boxes. Those two things to me do not go together. Subscription boxes are signing up to receive products that you don't know what they are, you don't know if you'll like them, and that's the complete opposite of living an eco-friendly lifestyle where you think through your purchases, you only buy what you need, you buy quality products that will last you and that bring value to your life. To me, subscription boxes are the entire opposite of that, so any eco subscription box to me is just a backwards way of thinking. If you're really into makeup and like transitioning from a regular, whatever YouTube has told you to believe about beauty products and you're switching over to more natural products and you find like a zero waste or natural beauty subscription box, I think that's a nice bridge between the two. But if we're talking about subscription boxes that send you like reusable things, like I've seen pop up a lot on ads for me on Instagram, no, just that defeats the entire purpose. So I would like to anti-haul eco subscription boxes. Just saying. All right, guys, so those are all the things I wanted to anti-haul today that I do believe are greenwashed. Like I said, I'm going to leave a link to the blog post in the description to other things that you asked about that I personally do not believe are greenwashing. So if you want to learn more about brands and why I would think something is not greenwashing versus it is greenwashing, you can go check out that blog post. I just didn't want to make this video incredibly too long. Also, a really interesting thing coming up. I'm actually batch filming, pre-filming right now, like I said, because I am going to be traveling to Vancouver late August to check out one of the most popular brands, one of my favorite brands, their factory, and determine if they are actually greenwashing or not. And I am so excited for this. I have never been so excited for anything in my career. So if you have a guess as to which brand that would be that I'm going to visit, leave it in the comments below. And if you have any questions about that brand or for that brand, if you know who they are, I want to see what your guesses are. But leave them in the comments below if you have any questions for them. Someone will probably say it and then you guys will all know who it is. But I'm just interested to see if you can guess. And that is almost it for this video. But I have to say a huge thank you to my sponsor, Squarespace, who always sponsors this channel without interfering with the content. I'm allowed to say whatever I want, however I want, and then I get to tell you guys about an awesome service that can be really, really helpful if you're trying to start a blog, website, or business. Squarespace is an all-in-one platform where you can build an online store or even a sustainability-based blog. For anybody who has an awesome idea about websites, like I mentioned earlier, they are an awesome online resource where you can also get 24/7 customer service. For anyone who's ever tried to build a website, you know how valuable that is. They also offer domains, and to get 10% off of your purchase of a website or a domain, you can head to squarespace.com/Shelbizleee for 10% off of your purchase.